Revealed. How a hidden millionaire discovered life-changing truth from an amazing black waiter. Jake Thompson trudged down the dusty streets of his small town, squeezing his way through the tangle of vehicles and splintered sidewalks. He was just a humble man in his late 50s, juggling 3 jobs to keep food on the table for his aging parents and own family. Every day felt like an uphill battle, but he wore the badge of hard work like armor. Yet, beneath the surface lay a secret that weighed heavy in the quiet corners of his heart. He was a hidden millionaire. One crisp autumn morning, a new face entered the diner where Jake slung plates and poured coffee. Marcus, a young waiter with worn sneakers and tattooed arms, radiated ambition and dreams of culinary glory. At first, Jake quickly judged the kid, dismissing him as just another naive dreamer. But as Marcus beamed with kindness while serving customers, Jake noticed something deeper, a spark of potential that resonated between them. "Nice job, kid," Jake said, forcing a smile at the young man buzzing with excitement. Their conversations shifted from small talk to heartfelt discussions about struggle, disappointment, and unfulfilled dreams. Jake saw how Marcus lifted the spirits of the veterans who came in for coffee, taking the time to listen to their stories. It was a kindness Jake often wished he had, but life had made him too weary. But just as their bond was forming, fate struck. A medical emergency hit Jake's family, a deafening chaos that rattled his already fragile world. As the weight of the situation closed in on him, he learned of Marcus's secret compound acts of heroism. The kid had been quietly helping the elderly in their town, hosting bake sales to raise money for those in need, and bringing joy to those who felt invisible. The realization struck Jake like a freight train, a wave of shame crashing over him. Here he was, hiding a fortune, clutching his pride while Marcus worked miracles with nothing. Their friendship sparked something new inside him, forcing Jake to confront the shame of his identity and the life choices he had made. Just before the annual town gathering, he stood at the crossroads of revelation. Would he reveal his true self and speak truth to the divisions that ran deep in his community? Or would he retreat into the shadows, clinging to the safety of anonymity? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The night of the gathering unfolded with electric anticipation. As Jake stood before the townspeople, he felt hundreds of eyes locked onto him, half filled with judgment, half with curiosity. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders. Just as he opened his mouth to share his story, a tale of humility, grit, and the wealth of spirit and generosity before him, a loud crash echoed through the room, sending chaos into the crowd. That he hesitated, heart pounding in uncertainty. Would he find the courage to embrace his truth? The answer lingered in the thick air, an unspoken promise of change just waiting to burst forth. As murmurs of confusion echoed, the townspeople held their breath, not yet knowing how deeply this moment would alter their lives, together or torn apart. The din of startled voices buzzed around Jake as he stood frozen, his heart racing. The crash had come from a table where old Mr. Bailey, the town's beloved but frail war veteran, had accidentally knocked over a pitcher of water. The thick air of anticipation was replaced with the frantic chatter of concern. "Someone help him!" cried a woman from the back. Jake's instincts kicked in. He took a step forward, adrenaline pushing him past his nervousness. He rushed to Mr. Bailey's side, kneeling on the floor where water pooled around the veteran's feet. "Easy there, Mr. Bailey. Just, take it slow," Jake murmured, an infectious calm breaking through the chaos. He glanced back at the crowd gathering around them, their expressions ranging from shock to sympathy. In that moment, their attention shifted. This wasn't just about Jake anymore. It was a shared moment of humanity. Marcus appeared beside him, ready to help, his brow set in concentration. "I got it, man. You do what you need to," he said, scooping up the bits of shattered glass while effortlessly reassuring Mr. Bailey. In his presence, there was a brightness that sparked hope in Jake's chest. Jake felt the eyes of the townsfolk on him again, but this time, it invigorated him. Mr. Bailey's soft voice broke through. "Jake, thank you, son. You always take care of us old folks." A flicker of recognition sparked in their eyes, a connection being formed amidst the calmness of a crisis. As Marcus continued to clean the mess, Jake felt a wave of clarity wash over him. Maybe this was the moment. Maybe the townspeople couldn't just see him as a hidden millionaire. That's not what mattered. They needed to see the truth of who he was and what it meant to support one another. Rising to his feet, he turned to the crowd, grounding himself amidst the scattering murmurs. "I need to say something," Jake stuttered, trying to steady his voice. "Tonight is supposed to be about us, about coming together and lifting each other up." He took a deep breath, courage bubbling within him, each heartbeat thundering like a war drum. Questions lingered in the air, pulses hovering on the brink of revelation. This town, our lives, it's about more than just surviving. The silence was heavy as he fumbled with words, spinning the thread of his hidden story. "You see, I've been keeping something to myself. As much as I've refused to share it. But that is not the man I want to be anymore." Hope and love mingled in the crowd like a warm blanket around their shoulders, and he continued to build upon the energy he felt enveloping him. "I want to honor the kindness I've been shown and the strength I've seen in all of you. I want to give more than I keep." Marcus noticed the shift, eyes brightening as he exchanged glances with Jake. The two shared a moment of understanding. They were linked now, a bridge forming between the wealth hidden in Jake's heart and the beauty Marcus spread across the town. Just then, with a flash of inspiration, Jake sought out Mr. Bailey's gaze again, grounding his thoughts. "What if we all come together? Each of us brings something unique, and we can lift each other. Let us open a space for all voices, our struggles, our stories. Because together, we are stronger." The air crackled as people began to nod, their faces brightening with possibilities. But before they could react further, a newcomer entered the room, and every eye turned towards her. The energy in the diner shifted again, tension radiating off the walls. Who was this new person? What weight would they add to the growing revelation? Jake's heart raced. The tide of hope seemed poised to crash or surge forward. What would happen next? The moment the door swung open, a chill swept through the diner. All eyes darted toward the newcomer, a woman clad in a long, flowing coat, her hair cascading like a waterfall around her shoulders. The soft glow from overhead lights caught the glimmer in her eyes. She didn't seem fazed by the attention. She filled the space with an unspoken energy, an aura that grabbed hold of everyone in the room. Jake's breath caught in his throat. He recognized her from the past, a childhood friend, someone who had drifted away, but never forgotten. It was Lila. Standing there, she looked different, transformed by time and experience. Memories surged in him like waves, breaking against the walls of his mind. "Lila, it's been wow. I didn't expect to see you here," he stammered, his voice cracking slightly. She responded with a small smile that broke like dawn, soft, yet illuminating. "I know, Jake. I've been away for so long. Came back to see the folks, to see all of you." Her gaze flickered toward Mr. Bailey, and a warmth enveloped the room again, melting the earlier tension. The murmurs resumed, but this time they were curious. "Is that really Lila?" someone whispered, while others exchanged glances full of intrigue. Jake's heart raced, but this time, it wasn't just nerves, it was a spark of something deeper, a craving for connection that he thought he had long buried. He motioned for her to join him at the front. "Why don't you come up here? We're talking about community, about support." His words trailed off, feeling the weight of the moment. "You might have something to add." As she approached, the atmosphere shifted again. Something magnetic tugged at Jake's heart, and he felt the room lean in, waiting for her to speak. "Lila was home. I was just listening," Lila said, her voice steady yet gentle. "What you said, Jake, it struck a chord with me. I watched our town from afar, feeling helpless at times. And sometimes it felt like there was always something missing, the stories, the voices. But look at you all coming together here tonight, sharing your strength." Jake felt the warmth build, igniting a fire within him as Lila's words poured out. She painted a picture of connection, echoing the very essence of what he had just shared. The people in the diner began to lean forward, engaging with her presence, breaking the barrier of distance and old memories. Just then, An unexpected noise interrupted the sound of glass clinking and a commotion at the back of the diner. Heads turned, the voices rising again in a chorus of surprise. A group of newcomers, faces unfamiliar to the tight-knit town, entered, clutching a flyer that read, "Community Meeting. Revitalize our town." Jake felt that electric pulse beneath his skin. More people? Was this sign of growth or conflict? As they stepped closer, he could see uncertainty in their eyes, mingled with hope that permeated the air. It was a challenge of unity, a moment dangling like a pendulum between the past and the future. Before he could process it, Lila turned to the newcomers, waving them over. "You see," she said, her quiet confidence sparkling, "this is what it means to be a community. We are all here, waiting to share our stories, waiting to connect. So let us do it together." As the various factions began to intermingle, Jake felt the atmosphere thrum with potential. He glanced at Marcus, who beamed with encouragement, and at Mr. Bailey, who nodded in approval. Could this be the change they all needed? Would the bonds forged here tonight hold and create a brighter future? The questions hummed like a live wire, crackling through the air, but before Jake could voice another thought, Lila looked him straight in the eye. "Jake, can you share that truth you wanted to tell us all? Because we need to hear it now more than ever." The room fell silent, tension giving way to anticipation as hope hung low in the air. Jake's mind swirled. Could he find the words to reveal his truth to everyone present? What would happen when he did? Jake's heart thundered in his chest. The silence was thick, like a heavy blanket enveloping him. Every eye was on him, waiting, needing him to break the stillness. He glanced around Lila, with her steady gaze, Marcus, full of encouragement, Mr. Bailey, warm and reassuring. This moment meant everything to them. "Okay," he began, words spilling from his lips like secrets he had long buried. "For a long time, I thought I could handle everything alone. I thought I had to be strong, to be the backbone of this community. But the truth is," he hesitated, the weight of shame pressing against him. "I was scared of not being enough." A murmur rippled through the diner, but he held Lila's gaze, the spark of understanding in her eyes nudging him forward. "I always wanted to make my family proud, to build a life that mattered. But I haven't done it well. I've let the fear hold me back." The reactions were mixed. Some nodded sympathetically while others looked surprised as if they had never considered that the heart of Jake, the town's pillar, beat unevenly beneath his calm surface. "I realized that being strong doesn't mean doing everything alone. There's strength in vulnerability, in admitting that I need help," he continued, feeling the warmth of sincerity wrap around him like a protective cloak. "We all carry our burdens. We need each other to truly thrive." A young woman from the group of newcomers stepped forward, her eyes wide. "But what do we do?" she asked softly. "How do we start?" In that moment, something ignited within Jake. He took a breath, and the answers began to flow freely. "We share our stories. We open our hearts. We stand together in the messy parts of life as much as in the happy ones. We support each other," just like Lila said. People began to murmur among themselves, a ripple of excitement filling the space. Jake's truth became a bridge, and he felt the distance close between the familiar faces and the newcomers. Perhaps, just perhaps, they would unite. Lila stepped closer, her voice strong and clear. "Exactly. It's not just about looking at the problems. It's about seeing the potential. We are all different, but together, we can be powerful." Cheers erupted in the diner, the spark igniting into a flame of enthusiasm. Conversations broke out among groups. Hands gestured animatedly as laughter replaced uncertainty. People were leaning into each other, sharing hopes, fears, and ideas for their community as revival. Jake felt lighter, the chains he had carried for too long loosening their grip. He looked towards Lila, her smile bright and reassuring. In that moment, he realized that she was right, it was about connection. But as the atmosphere buzzed with newfound determination, Jake caught sight of a shadow lingering at the back of the diner. A man dressed in dark clothes, arms crossed, watching the scene unfold with a cautious expression. Who was he? Did he belong here? Or was he there to disrupt this fragile sense of unity? The buzz in the diner faded slightly. Curiosity peaked as whispers began to ripple through the crowd once more. Jake's heart raced. He knew the energy in the room could shift at any moment. What did this man want? And what could he mean for their blossoming community? As Jake prepared to find out, the air was electric with anticipation, as if the future of the town depended on the answers to come. Jake glanced back at the shadow, the man's presence casting an unexpected chill over the lively diner. The conversations fluttered nervously, voices lowering as people started to take notice of him. Was he an agent of change, or the harbinger of trouble? Determined, Jake squeezed through the crowd, the warmth and energy still crackling around him, but his focus sharpened on the stranger. As he got closer, the man's features came into view. Sharp jaw, intense gaze, and an air of authority that gave Jake pause. "Can I help you?" Jake asked, trying to project calmness despite the pounding in his chest. The man uncrossed his arms slowly, his eyes scanning the room before meeting Jake's. "I'm just observing," he replied, his voice deep and steady. "But it seems like you're igniting something here, something important." The weight of his words hung in the air. Jake held his breath, sensing that this encounter would define more than just the moment. It could shake the very foundations of what they were starting to build. "We're trying to create a community," Jake replied, hoping to extend an olive branch. "A place where everyone belongs." The man raised an eyebrow, a slight challenge glimmering in his expression. "Is that so? And what makes you think you're qualified to lead all those lost souls?" That stung. Jake's heart pounded harder. His thoughts echoed back to his admission moments ago, the fear of not being enough. He took a breath. "I realized no one has to lead alone. We're all stepping up together. It's about connection." The crowd's eyes flickered between Jake and the man, a mix of apprehension and curiosity weaving through the room. Lila, watching intently from afar, took a step closer, her knots of worry easing as she saw Jake hold his ground. "And who have you to back you up?" The man challenged, glancing briefly at Lila before returning his stare to Jake. "This unity of yours, what will it do when faced with real adversity?" Those words pierced through the air, and Jake felt the collective breath hold. What could he say? In that moment, he realized that this wasn't just about him. "We support each other," he said firmly, every word rolling off his tongue with conviction. "It's about us all facing the storms together." A few voices began to rise in agreement, thoughts cascading among the crowd. The man studied them, and, for a brief moment, the tension shifted. "And if someone challenges that unity? What then?" He pressed, testing Jake's resolve. Jake took another step forward, fueled by the strength of his community behind him. "Then we face it. Together. We may not have all the answers, but we give each other hope. And hope is where every fight starts." A low murmur of approval spread across the diner. Something flickered in the man's eyes, but Jake couldn't read it. "Hope," he echoed, incredulity lacing his tone. "That's a fragile thing. What if the world doesn't cooperate?" The diner's energy shifted further as a few patrons looked at one another, uncertainty creeping back, overshadowing the earlier excitement. Could Jake really hold on to this fragile spark they had ignited? Just then, Lila stepped forward, bold and fearless. "And what is your name? You've got questions, but what is your story?" Jake felt urgency blossom within him. "Yeah," he added, emboldened by her presence. "Are you here just to judge, or are you part of this community too?" The man hesitated, a flicker of vulnerability crossing his face. "I'm just a guy trying to find my place." In that moment, Jake's heart softened. Maybe this man was searching for connection just like everyone else. Hope intertwined with doubt, and as the crowd waited for his response, Jake knew one thing. They were on the brink of something that could change everything. The question was, would this man choose to join them or stand apart? Their future loomed ahead, delicate yet brimming with potential, and a collective breath could be heard, a moment of transformation resting in the air. What choice would the shadow make? The man's expression shifted, the uncertainty mingling with something deeper, vulnerability. It was a glimpse of a man stripped of pretensions, and Jake found his heart reaching out to him. The moment felt electric, almost surreal. The air around them grew thick with anticipation, and Lila broke the silence. "You don't have to answer right away. We all have stories." She smiled at him, and in that moment, it felt like the murmurs of the diner faded into a soft hum. Everyone was listening, hanging on the edge of a new possibility. Jake watched the man closely, taking in every detail, the furrow of his brow, the flicker of doubt in his eyes. There was something hidden beneath the surface, a story tangling within him just waiting to be set free. We all feel lost sometimes, Jake said softly, allowing his own rooted fears to nestle within the conversation. That's why we're here. To help each other through. The man nodded slowly. Lost. It feels like a permanent state most days. It was a whisper, a shared confession that resonated through the crowd. It took courage to admit that. Something shifted in the room. The wall that had separated this stranger from them all started to crumble. Everyone here has faced their own battles, Lila interjected, gesturing to the array of faces around them. We've each found a little light in the dark. You might be surprised at how much can come from facing those fears together. There was warmth in her voice, a daring invitation to join them. The man's gaze softened, his defenses faltering. I've spent too long assuming I needed to figure it out alone. It hasn't worked. He rubbed the back of his neck and let out a heavy sigh. The collective sigh seemed to resonate, like they were breathing in the same air of realization. Let us help you, Jake urged. All of us. One day at a time. We're stronger together. It felt like a promise hanging in the balance, a chance to build rather than divide. Another voice broke through the gathering tension. What is your name? It came from a young woman sitting a few booths away, her eyes bright with hope. Danny, he said quietly, his voice trembling slightly. It was a start, a small crack in the shell he'd built around himself. Danny, Jake repeated, testing the name on his tongue. You've got a place here with us, then. The words came out as a soft declaration, and there was something undeniably binding about the name being uttered so tenderly that a flicker of connection sparked, and a smile crept upon Danny's lips. Maybe I could use some of that hope you keep talking about. Jake chuckled lightly, the tension dissipating. Well, don't worry. We've got plenty to spare. And trust me, you'll find your place. As the diner buzzed back to life, conversations resumed, the earlier apprehension melting away. The warmth returned, wrapping around all of them, and Lila's hand brushed past Jake's in a small gesture of encouragement. It felt like they had crossed a line together, a shift from uncertainty to solidarity. But as the laughter echoed around them and stories began to intertwine, Jake caught a glimpse of the man watching from the corner, an older gentleman with a sharp suit, observing the whole encounter. There was something unsettling in the way he looked at them, as if this was all part of a greater observation. Jake's gut twisted. What was his role in all this? Was he truly a witness, or was he someone who sought to derail the growing sense of unity? With questions weighing heavily on his mind, Jake turned back to Lila and Danny, their faces illuminated with hope. Could they truly hold on to this feeling, or would outside forces shatter their fledgling community before it could take full flight? The path ahead gleamed with promise, but the shadows loomed closer. What hidden truths would they unearth next? Jake shook off the unease that stirred within him as he refocused on Danny and Lila, whose laughter floated above the clattering dishes. The bustling diner, once a backdrop to uncertainty, had transformed into a sanctuary of shared stories and budding connections. Each voice felt like a thread weaving a tapestry of hope. Tell us about yourself, Danny, Lila encouraged, her eyes sparkling with warmth and genuine interest. Danny hesitated for a moment, looking down at his hands. The nervousness was palpable, as if he were deciding how much of himself to reveal. Finally, he took a breath and began. I was a mechanic, loved it, you know? Fixing things, making them whole again. But life took a turn. The loss of his passion hung heavy in the air, surrounding them like a fog. Jake felt the stirrings of empathy fill the space. I get that, he interjected. Sometimes it feels like things just slip away from us, and we're left holding the pieces. Danny looked up, his gaze meeting Jake's. Exactly. I lost my shop, my customers, everything. It's just hard to see the way forward when you feel like you're standing in a dark tunnel. That's when we have to reach for the light, Lila chimed in, squeezing Danny's hand. It's there, even when it seems impossible to find. Jake admired Lila's ability to connect, her empathy a magnet for healing. She had a way of drawing people out, of making their unspoken fears feel less isolating. Her compassion was infectious, and he could see it slowly lifting Danny's spirit. As they settled into deeper conversation, the clatter of plates and laughter swirled around them. It was comfort in chaos, a reminder of the life outside these walls. But that same unsettling presence Jake had noticed earlier still lingered at the back of his mind. Like an itch he couldn't scratched, in between stories and laughter, Jake stole a glance at the older gentleman. Their eyes met, and the man's gaze hardened for a moment before shifting away, back to his newspaper. There was something about him that felt out of place, like a specter looming over their gathering. "Do you think we're really making a difference here?" Jake asked Lila quietly, concern etched on his face. She leaned closer, her voice soft yet unwavering. "Of course we are. One connection at a time. It's how change begins." Her confidence reassured him, and he wanted desperately to believe her words. Danny, sensing the shift in the conversation, cleared his throat. "Maybe it's not about the big picture. Just small steps, right? I mean, what if tonight is just the beginning? Maybe it's about finding one person to share that light with like you guys." "Exactly," Jake replied, gratitude flooding his chest. "And that's why you're here. Just as we're all meant to help each other find our way again." But the moment was interrupted by a sudden crash from behind the counter. Dishes shattered on the floor, and the diner fell silent. Jake turned sharply, heart racing. The bartender stood frozen, eyes wide as he pointed toward the older gentleman who had been watching them closely. The man had risen, his expression transformed into a mask of anger. "I've had enough of this ridiculous charade," he shouted, his voice booming across the diner. Jake's heart sank. He could feel the atmosphere shift as the tension twisted like a cold knot in his gut. What could he possibly want? Was this the moment when everything they had built would come crashing down? "Everyone needs to know the truth," the man continued, his eyes blazing like wildfire. The silence hung thick in the air, anticipation crackling with uncertainty. And as Jake stood there, one question weighed heavily on him. What kind of truth was he about to reveal? The bartender dropped a glass, the shattering sound echoing in the stunned quiet. Jake's heart raced. He could feel the tension seeping into his bones as he scanned the diner. Faces turned toward the older man. Curiosity and fear splashed across the patrons' expressions. "Listen, everyone," the man continued, his voice steady now, almost like he rehearsed this moment. "You think you're all bonded here, sharing stories, finding hope. But there's a bigger game at play than your little exchanges. I know who this man is." Danny's eyes widened as the man pointed a shaky finger in his direction. The room seemed to constrict as Jake's mind raced. Would he defend Danny, or stand back? The words hung like a storm cloud ready to burst. "I know about your past," the man shouted, anger boiling in his voice. "I know you're not just a washed-up mechanic. You think you can pull the wool over everyone's eyes?" Danny's expression morphed from surprise to confusion. "What are you talking about?" he stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. "You're an outlaw." The man's revelation echoed through the diner, drawing gasps from several customers. "You think hiding in this diner will make you forget who you are? You think we'll just let you play this new role?" Jake's insides twisted. He could see Lila's shock mirrored in her soft features. Danny had opened up to them. He had allowed them to see his heart. How could this man unravel everything so ruthlessly? "I'm not an outlaw," Danny protested, his voice strong but shaky. "I've changed." The man stepped closer, and the diner felt small and suffocating. "Have you? Or are you just pretending again? You can't run from your past, you know." The room erupted into whispers, a murmur of disbelief washing over the crowd. Jake's fists clenched. Was it possible Danny had been hiding something more than he'd let on? Was he truly the person this man was describing? Lila shot a glance at Jake, worry etched in her eyes. He knew they were facing a pivotal moment. This was more than just a confrontation. It was a reckoning, a collision of past and present. "Why are you doing this?" Jake interjected, his voice cutting through the tension. "You're tearing him down with no reason. If you know something, just say it." The man looked at Jake, realization dawning that this was a man ready to defend the vulnerable. "Because you all deserve to know. He's hiding in plain sight, taking your sympathy while he builds an empire on lies." Danny shook his head vehemently. "You don't know anything." But the older man continued, voice rising. "You think this is sympathy? You think you can manipulate us just because you wear a smile? That is not who you are." Jake could see tears well up in Danny's eyes. His heart ached for him, feeling the weight of his past squeeze his throat. "Maybe it's time." "Danny," Lila whispered, her voice gentle but firm. "Maybe it's time to share your truth?" The air felt charged, alive with the possibility of revelation. Would Danny rise to this challenge? Would he reveal the truth that could set him free, or retreat back into shadows he had once escaped? Jake held his breath, already knowing how deeply divided the room had become. And as the silence grew thicker and anticipation wrapped tightly around them, he realized this moment could either shatter or forge new connections. It was a make-or-break instant, dangling on the edge of a truth yet to be revealed. What kind of future would rise from the ashes of this confrontation? In the diner, hope and despair stood at a crossroads, and someone would have to make a choice. Danny took a deep breath, his rising emotions battling within him. He opened his mouth, yet the words lodged in his throat. He could feel the eyes of the diner fixating on him, their hopeful gazes turned wary. The truth hung over him like a blade, ready to drop at any moment. He started, voice trembling as the gaze from the older man bore down. His heart hammered against his chest, while every second stretched painfully long. What is your truth, Danny? Jake pressed gently but firmly, clenching his fists in support. We're here for you. The tension in the diner cracked like glass. All eyes remained trained on him, a mix of fear, curiosity, and anger swirling together in the air. Danny swallowed hard. How long had he been hiding? Was it time to shed the layers of shame that cloaked him? The older man didn't let up. Your past is a scar. It's time you face it. You're not that man anymore, just admit it. His words burned like acid. Danny's mind flickered back to the days when life had spiraled out of control. Choices made in desperation, chasing after a fleeting dream that had turned into a nightmare. All the feel-good stories were gone, replaced by a reality he had tried to bury deep within him. I might have made mistakes, he finally said, voice stronger now. But I'm not who I was. The older man stepped back, but not from fear. He was ready for this fight. Then what are you? A liar? A coward? A hush fell over the room as if everyone was holding their breath, waiting for the reveal. Lila squeezed Danny's hand, seeking strength he hadn't known he needed. He looked into her eyes, where compassion and understanding dwelled. I'm trying to be better, he said, the words pouring out of him. I ran from my past, and for a time, I lost myself. But hiding isn't living. With each word, the weight of his secret felt heavier. Yes, I did things I'm not proud of, things I wish I could take back. But I found this place. I found you all. He glanced around the diner, his audience now a gallery of broken dreams and whispered hopes. You made me feel like I belonged. I wanted to change. So changing means lying? The older man challenged, crossing his arms. No, it means growing. It means learning from the past instead of letting it define me. Danny's voice cracked with emotion. I'm not perfect. I'm just a man who got a second chance who wants to be better. The older man's face softened ever so slightly, yet it was still clouded with skepticism. You have to prove it. Danny could feel the fine line between hope and despair. What if he couldn't prove it? What if this moment shattered rather than healed them? I want to help others like me. I want to build something real. His voice faded, uncertain if anyone would choose to believe. Lila looked at him with fierce determination. You don't have to do this alone, Danny. The room buzzed with whispers, uncertainty lurking in the corners. Little did they all know that the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, revealing deeper truths that went beyond Danny's past. But amidst the chaos, something began to shift. The patrons exchanged glances, some finally starting to understand that redemption was not just a hollow word. It was a struggle worth fighting for. Just tell us how, Jake said, enthusiasm sparking in his tone. Tell us how we can help. At that moment, hope crackled back to life in the air, igniting the possibility for change. Danny held the flicker of connection in his heart. Could he indeed build something new from the wreckage of his past? And as the crowd began to speak amongst themselves, emerging as a support system rather than judging him, a tentative smile crept across Danny's face. With a newfound courage, he took one last deep breath. Let us start with truth. Who else with me? And in that moment, as anticipation coiled around them, the diner waited for a new dawn, unaware of the dark revelations still lurking at the edges of the past. Jake felt the weight of that moment pressing against him. Danny had taken the first step into the light, breaking through the shadows of doubt and fear. But what would come next? He looked around, his heart swelling with hope as the diner buzzed with energy and determination. We're with you, Lila shouted, her voice echoing like a rallying cry. The energy surged, lifting spirits like helium balloons set free into the sky. Faces around the room lit up, smiles breaking through the tension as patrons started to lend their voices to the chorus of support. "You've got this, Danny," shouted Mr. Bailey, his frail voice strong, echoing through the room. It was proof that every heart counted. Every whisper of encouragement added to the rising tide of unity. As people rallied around, Jake noted the expressions in the room. Countless faces softening, slowly beginning to grasp the power of connection and forgiveness. They were all in a shared narrative now, stitching together moments of vulnerability and strength. "Whatever it takes," Danny said, his voice stronger, fiercer now. "Let us create something good. Let us help those struggling like I did. We can do it together. We'll share our stories loud and proud. We'll build a place for those who feel lost." The words resonated, like thunder following lightning. The atmosphere shifted again, electric with possibilities. Danny stood taller, the shadows of his past retreating as the light of understanding surrounded him. Jake felt pride bubbling within himself, the raw connection they all shared igniting warmth in his heart. "Let us start a community initiative," Jake proposed, his voice steady. "Something to help those who need it most, a fund for workshops, training, gatherings. Let us lift each other up, like we're learning to do tonight." The crowd erupted with applause, heads nodding in agreement, eyes sparkling with the light of newfound purpose. Marcus' infectious excitement danced over them all. "I'll organize bake sales, just like I did for the elderly folks. We can create awareness, too. This isn't just a diner. It's our hub." Everyone broke into lively discussions, sharing ideas and inspiration as they began to imagine a tomorrow that wasn't just built on survival, but on genuine support. They exchanged contact information, committing to meet often, to unify their strengths. And amidst the excitement, Jake caught that lingering presence, the older man in the corner, his face softened but still unreadable. "You know," he said slowly, surprising himself, "you still have to face things that might hurt. Where there's hope, there's always a path," Lila replied, unwavering. "Danny's right. We've all struggled, and we can only grow by facing that truth together." "Maybe I was too harsh," the older man muttered, more to himself than anyone else. "I didn't see what was really happening." Jake stepped closer, his heart racing with the thought of healing. "No one's here to judge, just to support. What's your story? We'd love to hear it, if you're ready." A hush fell over the diner again. But this one was different. It was filled with anticipation, not fear. The man rubbed his chin thoughtfully, looking out over the gathering crowd of hopeful faces. "I've seen the impact of communities breaking down," he began slowly. "And I guess I haven't believed that things could change. It's easier to stay hidden." But maybe a loud cheer erupted, interrupting him. Folks ready to embrace this moment of honesty, of potential change. "Will you stay with us?" A small voice from the crowd piped up, fanning flames of courage. The older man looked taken aback, but amazed. "Maybe, just maybe," he whispered, hope creeping into the corners of his heart. Jake let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Each challenge, every revelation had built a bridge. They were all stepping forward from their pasts into a hopeful future. The diner felt like a sacred place, a family coming together to laugh, cry, dream, and create magic. The night unfolded with laughter and sharing as the cafe transformed. They spent hours writing down ideas, piecing together their thoughts into actionable plans, and their hearts merged with possibilities. As the clock ticked late into the night, Jake captured fleeting glances of joy, each member igniting something inside him that had long felt dimmed. "Together, we'll make our town a beacon of hope," Jake declared, drawing attention back to him again. "Not just for us, but for those who come after." The cheers echoed around him, laughter and joy spilling out joyfully into the crisp night air. With every passing moment, they created something beautiful, transforming the diner into a community of friends no longer hidden, but shining brilliantly in the heart of the diner. Warmth radiated within as they all shared that simple truth. They had each other, and together, their dreams could take flight. Just as dawn broke on the horizon, he knew they had stepped into their story no longer defined by their fears, but sculpted by their hope. These moments of connection became a journey of love, reminding them that transformation was always possible. And when they went out into the world each day, they carried their truths with them, forging ahead together. Now, You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that breathe life into hope. Leave a like now to feed that algorithm. Help spread this light to everyone. And comment your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending, because we want to hear your thoughts. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this explosion of transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.